Season 6 of Solar Flare Competitive League is here. Swiss stage, an entire new graphics package. It's all ready and waiting for us. I am Lightrose, and joining me is Golu Molu, and I'm so excited to finally get into this. Today, the first game we have is Illness Esports versus Red Hand.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how the season plays out. It's always nice to get a new feel. I mean, we're here for the qualifiers, but I wasn't around last season, so getting to jump on in and re-meet some of these new teams and catch up on the teams that we saw coming through our qualifiers is going to be quite a bit of fun for us to do. But I think the first thing, just talk a little bit how the season's going to run, right? Because we've come in under this format. It's pretty similar to something that you'll start to see crop up a little bit more throughout Rainbow Six Siege. It's this Swiss-style bracket for the qualifiers. The teams need 3 wins to advance onto the next stage. And when you're at either 2 wins or 2 losses in the Swiss stage, you will end up moving from the best of 1s to the best of 3s to confirm either you're going forward or your elimination from the tournament completely.
It makes all of these games really exciting, and then when you get to like the round 3, when you really start getting in the elimination and promotion matches, that is when the adrenaline starts pumping. This first round, like it was in SCS, you might see a lot of very one-sided matches, and that's because things are getting figured out. You know, we want to see who's going to be the top of the pack, who's going to be the bottom of the pack. And I think a great way to kind of talk about that, I know that's not a great segue when talking about some of these teams, especially Red Hand and Illness, but there is really a contrast between these two teams. I mean, on Red Hand, you have, in my opinion, I don't think we have a lot of names, especially as much as Illness. I mean, you can look at the number of X-Pro League players, Challenger League players that they have, and you automatically see a massive difference between the two.
Yeah, Illness Esports has to be the team that jumps off the page. You've got Wimpy, who played the stage 1 of last year under Parabellum. A couple of the players, I mean, everyone else in the roster has basically been hanging around that Challenger League scene, pushing towards the top of it as well. So you're expecting this team coming in to be one of those teams that's kind of looking a bit scary, looking to take pretty much the rest of the competition down. Hit on the head. Red Right Hand coming in from our second qualifier. They did come through it somewhat comfortably, right? Both of the best of 3 games they had to play on that third day of qualifications were 2-0 victories for them. And one thing I'm really looking forward to see with a team like Red Right Hand is, are they going to change up some of the way that these map beaters work? Because looking at their qualifier games, they were one of these teams that was willing to play some of the more quirky maps. Theme Park was something that they took both of their opponents to in the last day of qualifiers. So as the season goes on, as we see a couple more of these best of 1s, then moving into those best of 3s later on when it comes to those advancing or elimination games, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what we come forward through. But, well, that's not going to be the case today. Illness Esports taking that theme park off very early on. Skyscraper gone as well. These are the 2 maps I think we're going to see less of throughout the whole event.
Yeah, that's just an entire scene thing. You don't see as much theme park, you don't see as much skyscraper, and that's a darn shame. Skyscraper and theme park are really fun to play, really fun to cast and watch. It's a shame we're not going to see that, but we are going to go to the most played map in the entire pool, contrast to the other two. It is Oregon, being decided by Red Right Hand instead of Clubhouse, so I guess you could say the lesser of 2 evils, depending on how you view these maps. But to be honest, starting out this first round on this first game, it's probably the vanillest of the entire pool, but I think it's going to be a great hand to really see how Red Right Hand is going to get started off, because, I mean, we have no expectations. I don't think there are any expectations of Red Right Hand, and to get started off with a big win over Illness Esports would really put their names in some people's mouth.
Yeah, I think it would be a really interesting way for them to start, especially because you're looking at this matchup. It's the team that we don't really have all that information on coming in, so to see them make it all the way, and then if they can put up a big fight on the first day, that's going to be a real big statement for the rest of the league, looking at them saying like, look, we're a team that you might not know, but you got to take us just as seriously as anyone else. And I think coming in, you get that 1-0, it's a really nice position to be in, right, V? Because if you have to go into your next best of 1, knowing one more best of 1, you go down 0-2, you're looking at those best of 3s. If you're in that 0-2 position, to still qualify, you then need to win 3 back-to-back best of.
Oh yeah,
That's a little bit of a tall ask.
Very unfavorable position, and I think that's why you do want to get that first win. But a lot of you might get a bad draw, and that's the thing. Right now you're playing up against Illness Esports, which has a lot of very good players who have played together, and honestly, it's a big ask to take down this team, which is not theme park. You kind of got teased. You kind of got a little bit there, Golu, with theme park being the name, but Oregon being the map. You got Illness Esports on the defense, Red Right Hand on the attack, and I want to know that we've seen Wimpy, we've seen a lot of these players, but I don't know, dartboard, and you like blind. Who do you think on Red Right Hand, if you've been able to see anything from that, who do you think is kind of jump out?
Who do I think Red Right Hand is going to jump out? Honestly, I think the going at the board, right, just purely off the sake of just living up to the oxymoron, it's going to be Owen. Okay, it's going to happen. He's going to go nuclear. I can see it written in the stars. If not, unfortunate naming. It's like with a lot of things, right? Like you think of the classic names. You don't want to pick a name that can be like mocked very easily, right? Because you think like Faker, right? Obviously League of Legends reference, but like imagine if Faker was bad at League of Legends. The name Faker wouldn't be cool at that point. It would be like, yeah, you are. So you gotta go with something. You can't be called Owen and then do badly. It's just not allowed. We can't have it happen, V. So the one player, Red Right Hand, acing every round. I'm calling it now.
I believe.
7-0, 35 kills.
Beautiful. Hey, break the kill record that was set by. Was it set in the most in at SI? Was it tied? I think.
I think one was. I think Benja got the most in a final, right? Because he got like 50 something kills in like 3 maps. It was dumb. He had the most going into the final map. I remember it was very very nutty in that final.
Yeah, but all right. Still getting people into some lobbies so we can kind of gauge a couple of things. I want to get your opinion on some other things. And one thing as we went into this newest season and this newest Pro League season is that people were expecting a Nighthaven Labs to be in the pool, to be in the competitive pool, and it wasn't. I want to get your opinion on that map. Do you think it's competitively viable?
Here's the thing. I don't play a whole lot of. So the amount of times I've seen it, it was mainly at the early stages of last season when you couldn't ban it and you were getting it randomed a lot of the time. I don't dislike the map per se. I think it's one that definitely is going to take a little bit of time to adjust to, and I think for that reason, yeah, I'd like to see it be a competitive rotation. I think we've seen historically when maps come in, they're generally pretty well received. Chalet was not picked for months. It was a perma-ban in ranked, and then it gets played at SI, or in the stage 3, gets played at SI. People are like, oh, you know what? This Chalet map, it's not that bad. Like, and it's now one of the most popular maps in ranked. You see it all the time. It's one of the most popular maps among the player base. Skyscraper hasn't quite had the same thing, and so I'd like to see it kind of get adopted a little bit more. But I think, again, when you have such a large range of ranked maps, that's going to happen where some just aren't really seen. I think Outback's another one that has been a talk of for, do we make this competitive? I don't know. I think there's some interesting ones. I'd like to see maybe Border get taken out. Sorry, Border.
Ooh.
Sorry, Border. Sorry, Border enjoyers. If you're a Border enjoyer, I apologize. We don't need Border.
Look, all right. I will be the devil's advocate for Border here. People have been calling it New Coastline, and because of how more frag-oriented it is, because Coastline was a map that really was based off of if you could win your ones. Who was more mechanically skilled had the edge in that map. And you see that on Border a little bit. And when you take Coastline out, you lose something. You see that personality start to disappear from the map pool. And getting a map like Border in there, having a map where people who are literal fragging demons can go nuts, go wild, that's really fun to see. And I don't want to see Border taken away because I don't want to see Oregon get played for the 17th time in a row. Like, Oregon, love it to death, but I has played so much.
I would say take out Oregon as well. Take out Oregon, take out Border. You want to chuck Coastline back in? I was never a Coastline enjoyer. I could be sold on a bit of Coastline. You could tell me a cup of that tea. I'd maybe be down to try it out. Yeah, I don't know. I think what was a bit of a miss for me. I think it's like Oregon could definitely go, right? And I was having a conversation with someone a little while back, and it was just like me saying, I think we should get rid of Oregon. We've seen it enough, we've played it enough. And the response was like, oh, but you need to have that map that everyone will know. Look at Dust 2 in CSGO. I was like, joke's on you, mate. The next day that gets cut. So what do you know, I guess? But here we are. It is going to be Oregon. Look, all the Oregon slander aside, I think it's a good place to kind of kick things off in your opening game of a season, right? Because I can be down for a nice little bit of Oregon, and it's going to be a very good gauge for both of these teams in the opening game on just the strength of their fundamentals for this season. How well can you play as a team? How solidly can you play these important positions on the defense? And how well can you work as a unit to break them down on the attacking side of things?
Reiterating, we do not know much about Red Right Hand. We didn't get to gauge much off of quals, and I think you hit the nail right on the head. That we get to see Red Right Hand start on the attack, start on the most default map on the entirety of Siege. And, well, how will they fare? The Kebby and Ying are the first two bans. Not very surprising. Ying can be a nightmare on that basement side if you do not let her go unabated, with the Kebby following in suit, making it just a tad easier for roamers and your cams a little bit safer.
Yeah, I think Dokkaebi now like locking dead players out of cams is actually the thing that really sends you for a bit of a spin sometimes, especially if you have one of those logic bombs alive towards the end of a round. You have something like a bulletproof camera, which are more and more prevalent by the day, hidden away inside a site. Perhaps the Black Eye if Valkyrie makes it through the bans. These kind of operators don't get to stay around. The call comes through, you lose access to that, you're no longer helpful to your players inside a site. Things become a little bit scrappy. Solis, Valkyrie, the last two bans, again, these kind of make sense, right? You're looking at, pretty standard defensive bans. I think Solis she's just so flexible. You can play her anywhere. There's no real reason not to, you need to have a very good reason not to bring Solis, to leave her not, off the table. And I just don't think there are that many sites where it really makes sense to just cut her completely, you ban her, get it out. Drones live just a little bit.
I think one of the things with Solis, though, and Oregon, is that on the positive side for her, Oregon is a little bit of a smaller map. You can get a lot of range with that Specchio scanner. On the contrary, basement is as hard of a floor as you can get. You can't really penetrate it with, a skeleton key shotgun, most C4s, and Solis, I think, gets a lot of her power from the ability to take down the diffuser. That late game power is something that you always have to keep in mind, and she can't exactly do that on the basement, but she can also do that on some of the other sites depending on where she plays. We're finally in, though. But we are here getting into the game. We have talked, we have yammered on, and now it is Rainbow Six Siege time.
Yeah, and interestingly, Mira making it through the bans, becoming more and more common. Right? The increase in newer defenders that you really want to get gone. Azami is also going to be in play, Aero picking that one up. So I'm interested to see how these two come into effect. The early Black Mirror being placed by Wimpy inside of Kitchen, looking towards Small Tower. That is something quite interesting. And we're seeing teams start to move these roams up on basement sites, right? Kind of early on into this map, learning. It wasn't really something you do. You'd very much focus on playing the basement, having your shields, having your ADSs to play behind. Now we're seeing people be a little bit more adventurous, a little more bold with where they want to be standing, and going so far to reinforce the hatchet kit as well. So just to make sure that you can hold onto this middle floor roam for as long as you possibly want to. I like this. I think this could be very interesting, and it's going to be a good test for Red Right Hand to see how they're going to break it down, how they're going to deal with it. They got a couple tools, the Geminis, to gather that information, as well as the E1Ds from BZ's Lion. So some ways to try and punish this roam.
30 seconds have gone by, and Red Right Hand are in the building. Not going to last too long, as right now Schmink is just deciding whether or not they want to go farther in on the second floor or back up. You do have to be aware that Giddy is inside of Big Tower, and Arrow is near that white stairs, and there's a drone that Red Right Hand can use. They spot the Malusi, and Giddy has no idea. It's perfectly covering the drone. It is a free kill, and Schmink, I think Giddy might have moved at the last second, But Red Right Hand, they do get that first frag, take down Arrow, and now can focus on that first floor where CZ is hiding, and then eventually onto the basement side.
Yeah, so I was saying, you know, Arrow got the Azamis, that could be a problem. No more keepers. They recharged up the round, and they're gone pretty early in. That's a very nice pick to find. Probably the best kill you could get here. Maybe the smoke comes close, because Babes later on in the round can be a little bit awkward to deal with. But now, after I'm gone, they can start working away on these hatches. Owen still being a little bit cautious. Doesn't want to walk up too far and get exposed to potential lurkers around on the staircases. There's BZ doing the rest of the sweep just to make sure there's no one else kind of around, no one else lurking for a kill. It's going to come down to, does the Ash walk down the stairs? Does CZ get a kill?
Creeping on up. Sen could get taken down if CZ wants to take advantage of it, but now barely scraping by. CZ is just missing barely death opportunity after death opportunity. As we get into the execution phase, Red Right Hand has a lot of areas where they can come from, but not a lot of safe areas. Freezer, Laundry Tower, all being watched by Illness.
Well, 40 seconds here in the opening round, and so far, Red Right Hand, not a ton of work done. I mean, they're starting to get in positions, but no real progress on this basement. Still looking at setups on Elbow inside of Electrical. The hatch hasn't been opened yet. I mean, finally the stuns will come through. Pair that with a scan as they're just going to run on in.
All right, we have seen the first firefight, and Red Right Hand jump out in the lead, and they gain a big one. Diffuser is going to put that Diffuser down, but Inrio finds the second one. It's a double kill for him, and he's looking to get 4 in this first round, but isn't prepared for the Diffuser in the hallway. The player, not the actual object, and Red Right Hand, they get started out with a win on the basement side of Oregon on attack. It's pretty impressive considering who Illness is and the attacking statistics on this round.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was interesting. I like that they pushed all together at the same time, and that's clearly what worked for them, right? They dropped the hatch, they pushed the bunker, all kind of coincide together, send pushing down Freezer to try and get the pressure from that. Well-coordinated time. I'm a little bit surprised that they kind of got in as far as they did as quickly without any congestion. I guess the flashbang's doing a good enough job to deny Elbow to walk in and take that fight on Pillar. So I guess they just isolated members pretty well, walked in, take the fights they want to take, and just playing off the numbers they had alive, right? Arrow dead already, that's going to open a couple holes in the Illness lineup to make it work. So I take back my doubt, because all in all, very clean little last minute execute. It did have me panicked.
5 seconds left.
I will say that, but badly proven wrong. And it's a nice way to start the round, right? You get that first win on the Oregon. Illness going to rerun the same bomb site with a somewhat similar lineup, but it's going to be the Warden coming in place of that mirror. So clearly feeling like those Black Mirrors not quite getting the same sort of value that they were looking for.
Yeah, the Black Mirrors can get a lot of value if they are on that Blue Bunker side, and the attack really does want to push Blue Bunker. But if they don't, yeah, you still get value with the Vector, you still get value with the C4, but the actual primary utility, it's a little lacking. Bring in something like the Warden, you are going to be versus something like flashbangs, smoke grenades. There are only 6 flashes on board, but you do also bring a deployable shield. Yep. It's also about that secondary utility. Giddy in the same spot does spot that drone. Now will back off before an engagement can ever even happen. It's like looking in a mirror. The exact same round over and over again, but this time Arrow is alive and will stay alive for an extended period of time. Given Red Right Hand, have to find another opening to get that advantage.
Yeah, already throwing the keepers down. You can see they're in locker just to try and congest it a bit. Makes sense. Walk down just a little bit more concerning. You have more questions being thrown your direction. But the rest of the clear, again, like you mentioned, from Red Right Hand, looking very familiar. Clearing out the space, making sure they got all the roamers out the way, and then they'll come through for these hatches. Is it going to work again? That's my question. Can you run in bunker again? They've got an extra member up, a couple of keepers to reinforce it as well, and they're still afraid of roamers by Big Tower V. That's a little bit concerning with the time they've got. Seemed pretty good at working with it last time. Can they replicate it? That's what's running through my head.
it's an important thing to consider because the basement site really does come together all at once. It's a mishmashing of attackers and defenders all trying to gain advantage of the site in 20 seconds? Not a lot of seconds, that's for sure. With Inrio in the same spot that he tried to complete the 1v4, he's not hanging out in Harry Potter, but instead just hanging out a little bit farther. It is Zen who gets the second opening pick in a row onto Illness Esports, and that is a big one. There are no more magnets that can be deployed, and that's another Illness player that will not be there for the actual engagement. And you see the same play from Red Right Hand. All 5 players coming from 5 different sides. Freezer attack is going to be spearheaded by Sen. He does spot the bulletproof camera, but now goes 1, down goes 2, and Illness Esports seem to be putting up the same amount of fight that they did in the previous round. Inrio is once again tasked with doing almost the impossible in this scenario, as Owen does continue to put that diffuser down, and Inrio again is left all alone with no chance of doing anything. I said it was the same round earlier on, and I think I have to repeat it. It's the same round again.
It also showed good flexibility from Red Right Hand, though, right? Instead of just going for the same play, they're not all running in bunker and dropping hatch. This time, they got more of that focus towards laundry side, showing a good little bit of flexibility where, yes, the start of that round and the way they execute the round functionally the same. But you're doing it just from a different spot. And the ability to have that flexibility with, hey, there are a lot more bunkered up around the back. Let's do it from the front side this side and just walk on in. The fact that no one from Illness retook the position where CZ died inside of lockers gave Sen so much freedom and also denied the crossfire, which you're normally looking at to sort of assist in shutting down this walk-in from laundry. No one's in that position, so Sen can walk up with the knowledge and the safety that his teammate, Fuso, just walking in from laundry stairs, is going to be able to cover the long corridor. They end up both shooting an arrow as he tries to contest it. He has no support, really. No one's in that position to do so. They walk in very quick. Good counts from Red Right Hand. Little bit of a lacking awareness from Illness, and it's put them 2 rounds down early on into the opening game of the season. They're now going to change up the site, and I think that's fair enough at this point, right? If you failed twice, go somewhere else.
You don't try basement a 3rd time after both times you went. They were considerable loss, but I mean, we might have ourselves a game here. Bet it is Red Right Hand up to potential to get 3 on the attack of Oregon against several Challenger League and a couple X-Pro League players, and they clearly are looking to already draw first blood. BZ is on the basement side looking up to Slink near those tower stairs, maybe up Freezer. It is up to him. He's got a lot of time, but he is also alone. Nobody around him. Maybe he'll get information, but so far it is BZ on his lonesome self looking to get an opening crack.
I mean, you see players do this all the time on the Nook, right? The one that springs to mind is like Onyx. I hate seeing this guy on the Nook. I mean, as a spectator, I love it. As an opponent, I would hate to see it. Then getting injured out early is pretty big, but I don't know if they can secure... Nope, they can. They can Pokeball him. So Wimpy able to grab the first pick, and they're finally able to have that opener for themselves, right? Illness have been losing members early on in both these previous rounds. This time it's Sen falling first, but the user just walks in and grabs 1 back. Imrio there to make sure things don't get too out of hand, shutting down the Yana as well. So you also lose your set of nades. Still another set in the pocket of BZ, who's now able to make their way up towards Armory Corridor. The doorway keep it off a little bit. Don't want to be careful. Foot angle that Imrio could try and draw. Player down below inside a classroom, though, could be exposed here as it seems to just maybe try and fight his way out, but I don't think they're going to commit to it. I don't think they fully know.
I think if you were Illness at this point, force Red Right Hand to come to you. They're playing a lot different than they did in those first 2 rounds. They're playing bold, maybe a little bit too bold, and it did start to bite them in the butt. However, with both CZ and Wimpy down now, it is a 3v3. Red Right Hand are basically knocking on the door of the site. They have walk-in closet open. There is an attic rotate available if somehow they can clear Inrio out, and there's so much time to do it. There's enough drones as well. Red Right Hand, drones continue to get shot, but maybe it is enough. And Owen just pushes forward through the smoke. BC gets down right beside him in the shotgun. And the SMG-11 from Inrio, who's given himself a hell of a game, will put Illness up on the board. And That was a drastic difference between round 2 and round 3, Ben.
Yeah, it was the early engagements, the early fights, just kind of the way they fell, Illness being able to hold forward on the ground that they wanted to take. And it just kind of meant that we never saw that same setup occur for Red Right Hand, right? I think the first 2 rounds, the thing we've been talking about them the most is they spend time clearing out the roamers. They make sure the utilities in the right positions. They move in, they hard breach things, then they go for an execute at the same time. If you can disrupt that flow very early on, they didn't seem to kind of feel as comfortable. And maybe that's something to do with the site as well, right? The top floor, not as much space you have to clear through as the attack. You're more likely to have to engage in early fights to take space. So maybe that's just something that caught them off guard a little bit. Again, Illness doing a little bit better job of leaning into these early gunfights, trying to take them. And I think that's what we should see a little bit more throughout the rest of the map from the side of Illness, right? You're the team that, in theory, has the experience, right? You've been around longer, you've had more experience at higher levels than the players on Red Right Hand. Take advantage of that to try and throw the rounds into uncomfortable or weird situations that, just through reps, you're more likely to have seen similar positions or understand kind of what the way to play out of that is.
All right, now, Illness. They're not going 0-3. They do put 1 on the board. Now looking to continue to add to that as Red Right Hand don't directly attack the site like they did in the previous round. Instead, they head up to the second floor. That worked for them in basement, but we're not on basement. We are on meeting kitchen, and Illness clearly are trying to put a little bit more thought into their second floor hold, having Kiva barriers, magnets, some shields up there as well. But Red Right Hand, they're not really letting that phase them. They're droning out, using that utility and trying to get an early attack, but it doesn't start off well. Sen goes down, starting off with 2 entry frags, and now 2 entry deaths. 2 sides of a coin.
More importantly, the all chatting has begun, and you know a series gets interesting when the all chatting begins. That's the benchmark for any sort of excitement. Wimpy on this smoke now, taking over the job of Inrio, who's moved on to that Cade instead. Waiting to see who the first one to walk in is going to be. The Toxic Babe not quite landing in the right position, and you always want to be careful in those. You don't want to be pulling down the deployable shield by accident. We're just waiting to see who's going to walk through the doorway. They have the hard breach on Game's Breach, so they can start to walk in as well, but Aero behind using this Kiva to give that support. Who's just going to take a little bit of damage here, V? And, I mean, Illness, they're doing a great job holding tight. Red Right Hand, someone needs to make a move here, because they're all playing a little bit too hesitant.
Especially with the amount of time remaining. Ace just walks in unaware, and that is what a lack of information is going to do to you. And now we're really starting to see the Illness Esports we were all waiting for. It is a flawless round, leading Lambs to the slaughter. On that second floor, we are tied up. And, well, now here's the true test. Illness Esports, they got to go back down to basement, and this was the time where Red Right Hand, this was their sweet spot, but have they retained that over the past 2 rounds?
I mean, they don't have to go back down. They could go to kitchen
True,
and dine it, but I don't think you do that over basement. I think, for me, it's more like, okay, I was just saying, they're playing too hesitant. Someone needs to make a move. Someone needs to go forward. I didn't mean the diffuser carry. I didn't mean the hard breach. You've got Buck, you've got Ace, Buck and Ash on the doorway. Okay, they can go in together. Then it's fine for the Ace to be walking in. But for Ace to be walking in while the other 2 are still on the doorways waiting is, the roles should be reversed there. If it was Ace being a little bit hesitant outside, I could see it happen. Come on, guys, you're on your entries. You should be looking for these fights, happily taking them. And instead, I mean, we saw it, right? Just looks the wrong way, shot in the back, and things just all fall apart from there, because then the rest of Red feel like they need to make that move. They need to get in. And what happens then? They all walk up at different times, not on that same sort of timing that saw them do so well on basement. Get cut down pretty quick, TV, and, I mean, look, Illness grab their 2 rounds. This is your opportunity as Red Right Hand to grab that round back. You can end this on that 3 very comfortably by repeating the same things. They're back on the same lineup. Things could go well.
Yeah, but I think it's honestly, it's less about how Red Right Hand plays and how Illness prepares for this site. They've gone here twice. They've put Giddy in Big Tower in the same spot again. And the fall of Illness on this site was that they played things the exact same. And Red Right Hand was able to play things the exact same. I feel like I'm going insane. It is the exact same opening. Schmink walking into Master, Giddy over in Big Tower. Like, Illness, like, please do something different up on that second floor or the first floor. Something, because it feels like it's an inevitability. And when we go towards that execution phase, Red Right Hand are going to do the exact same thing, and the fallacies are going to kill Illness. But, I mean, maybe. We're still only about a third through the round, and, well, Illness, they're stacking some bodies up on that first floor, but how well are they committed to staying on it?
How did Robin Williams get out of it? Out of his little Groundhog Day loop situation.
How did he?
I've actually never seen the film. I think I've seen like.
How did you make? Why did you make the reference if you weren't going to complete it?
Well, I was more just hoping you might know. I've never seen the film.
I'm a big Robin Williams fan, but I've never seen. Also, that's Bill Murray.
Is it?
Yes, Bill Murray was in Groundhog Day.
Learn something new every day. I always just assumed it was Robin Williams.
All right. Well, that was a little doomed to fail from the start.
Yeah.
But I mean, you are onto something. It is. You got to find a way out of the loop.
You got to learn these things someday. I could have gone all my life without knowing that. Bill Murray also very good. But back to C. Hatch open an E-box. That's good. The Roman cleared out. All 5 members of defense back down inside a basement. Starting to see the lurk leaning towards a bunker backside take. No, we saw a little bit of laundry stairs, but now leaning towards the backside with the rest of the team. How's the Warden going to take things up this time around, though? You've still got the mirror on board as well, so a nice little fusing of the last 2 attempts. Maybe that will be the recipe for success. As Red Right Hand, they are starting to line up on this hatch now.
Yeah, flashes are going down E-box. The frag grenade is prepped, and CZ is perfectly blind, and Owen takes advantage of that, finds 2, and it's the same spot, but Giddy walks towards pillar, finds 2, able to reload. Can he get the 30? Can! It's a triple for him, and now just Beezy alone in the blue bunker, can't find his way out of it, and Giddy with a power play on the pillar. Illness Esports claim the lead.
That was quite the remantle from Giddy in that round, but I'm looking at how that falls out. They drop hatch, Owen gets 2. I'm thinking, okay, this is the start, right? This is the round where they jump in, they get that control. Giddy retaking that position so quickly, walking out highway so quick to adapt. Wonderful little flick to get the double there, and finishing it off with a triple just to completely guarantee the win in the round. In that position, it's still a little bit questionable. Shut that down. You put it in the 1 versus 3. There is no way that he's slipping back into that round, especially from outside a bunker. The time they had left in the round, it's 1 doorway. There's no flexibility in how he's going to try and take some of these gunfights. Fantastic job from Giddy in that round to secure it for Illness. And now you win it. You go back upstairs. That was the only site that Red Right Hand had gotten wins on previously. You take that away from them. They now have to be thinking to themselves, how do we turn around that top floor attack? They had it in a 3 versus 3. So while the start, not initially ideal, they did kind of have ways to draw it back in. They went that play, trying to walk through pit, using the impact hole that had been made just to charge in. Didn't quite fall apart when you ran into that smoke in the point-blank range of the shotgun, but I don't know. I think, for me, this is going to be a little bit interesting to see how their initial round changes. If they can clear out trophy without taking too many heavy losses, this could still end at a 3-3 half. It's not out of the question.
The word of the round is composure. Red Right Hand didn't really have a lot of composure the last time they went to this site. It was a lot of, all right, we'll just get a quick little jab in and see what we can get. And, well, Illness had woken up by that time. Wimpy got the first kill, and then it just tumbled all the way forward until Illness won the round. And Red Right Hand have to be just a lot more slow with their take. We are seeing a little bit of that by the fact that, you know, Diffuser and Sen are inside of Armory by now trying to take it. They are just playing very face value to the shield, which I don't think is going to end very well with Sen going down, definitely confirming that. But Red Right Hand, they're still just trying to force their way into Armory and trying to put a triangle-shaped piece into a square hole.
Bit of a soft wall there also inside of games break. So potential option for a quick little bit of play. Zen will get picked up, but will now have a good reinforce. That's obviously not an option. They can ace it open. So maybe Owen's coming around to get that done. You got the Thatcher and Schmink. They do a little bit of assistance with any potential tomfoolery on the breach, but there's none around. There's no mute, there's no cage, there's no bandit. So that would be a pretty swift job for them. Half the round still to play with. A couple roamers down below, which it doesn't look like it's going to be an issue for the right hand. I think they're just going to focus on upstairs. Breach being tinkered with a little bit, but the impact crit going to make that a little bit more awkward. See the last Selma charge coming through for them, and going to be impacted off immediately. So they have a hole in Breach, not breachable. You can't jump through it. Going to be relying on the doorway. Hit double reinforce off as well means that this time Imrio has nothing to really worry about. This is looking a little bit bleak. Yes, a little bit of damage onto Wimpy is going to help, but it's not going to solve all your problems as long as they can hold from this window jump. Don't let him jump in and get the kill.
The timing is everything for PC up on the window. If you can perfectly jump in, catch Imrio off guard, it opens the round wide open, but it's a very, very small hole. A C4 is actually going to take down a couple players, along with a lot of utility and a lot of bullets on Illness. Even a Keratos with a nice little finish as it's Illness getting a flare in those last 3 rounds. Well, everything is just coming up sick in the last 4 rounds.
Yeah, and the big thing there was just impact tricking done really well, right? Stopping that breach from being exposed, from being breachable. Not a lot of work being done by Red Right Hand to give them support in other parts of the map. I want to see someone tinkering with Big Window. Just have someone on the other side. Just be that threat. Sen's on low HP. Maybe that's his job. Just poke around. If someone pops their head out and you get a freebie, great. You now have that extra sort of position to contest from. If the attention is all directed towards Trophy, you can jump in and maybe find something behind. But if not, just being a noise is enough sometimes. And that was ultimately the problem for me. It was, you lose your hard breach, you kind of left the doorway to walk through and 5 members to stack up on it. Not a ton of wriggle room there to try and work around out, especially with the positions that Illness had, with the Tebas, with the deployable shields, all focused on watching one specific doorway, and that's your only point here. It's a little squiff.
Funny enough, I think the last time we went to dorms, the problem for Red Right Hand, they took things too fast. Problem in the last round, took things way too slow, got nothing done. It's about finding that balance. So I think we saw that balance in those first 2 rounds, but the problem is now Illness is a whole different beast. They have taken the time, taken those 2 rounds, and now they have taken 4 of their own, and it seems like they are not intending to stop anytime soon. Inrio has finally gotten some help. And, well, when you see all these other 4 players in their prime, it's a scary thing to go up against. Maybe Red Right Hand will be able to get something on the defense, but I don't think that's any indicator. Sen going down, no information around them, and now a lot of map control given on up with Diffuser having to make a decision. Stay up on the first floor or back down to Freezer. It might cost him his life. He does get the down and does get the confirm, so something for your troubles.
Good pick to get that onto the Finker as well. Finish it off. No more boosts coming through, so that's always nice. But also, Finker's she can res herself, right? So if you don't manage to secure that kill, she can fall around a corner. They don't need someone else to get into that. It's not going to be really exposed. They just wait for you to walk around and collect you if you try and finish it off. BZ on the back staircase, actually getting a little bit aggressive, trying to walk up, and is going to be presented as a freebie to CZ. That's not ideal. But the drone information coming through are not adapting to the fact that there's someone just around the corner in kitchen. You're getting baited into drone hunting. Schmink still on the top floor. Could be an interesting proposition here for Illness to try and deal with. If they drone it out, then they know that he's here, and do they hunt him down? If not, do you leave it as an option for him to rotate around the back? The drones in the top of the tower should see him in a second now, so the timing might have worked perfectly for that as it's still on.
Illness was just about to stop watching it, but with Inrio live, he was eventually going to get caught. Still staying in Big Tower. How much time can this castle wait? Can he take any lives with him? Because if the dedication is truly just to hold down Big Tower, and something has to happen. Some shots barely miss, taking Wimpy down to about 50 HP. But now E-Box is going to be a funeral home for two of these players. It's a 2v2. A lot of map control is not in Red Right Hand's direction, but they have something. They have time, and they have enough to hold something down, but it's not enough to keep Illness Esports from walking inside of the site. Red pings are going wild. And now Arrow sticking down that diffuser is going to get coverage from Giddy, but the information is there on the side of Illness. Something is in their heads, and Arrow, it is dedication. Finds the kill on the diffuser with 8 seconds left. He has to get the kill, but can't. It's Schmink who finishes it off, and now a good first round on the defense, but they have yet to truly regain the confidence that you and I had in them in those first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that just came down to the hatch drop coming through. Without that information inside a bunker, you're giving Warden a very comfortable double kill, and that swung the round, right? You go from that 4 versus 3 with one isolated to the big tower, the ability to start pressuring out Freezer and walking into sight. That's the way. You no longer have access to that, and things look a little bit less comfortable. Still an opportunity to try and play out in that 2v2, and they did a good job recognizing that getting into sight, trying to play for this user is the correct option. Instead, you want to just make sure you keep things a little bit more streamlined and just sort of work for that objective. The defense coming in with a nice little play in the 2 versus 2, just trying to isolate the sledge while that diffuser is going down.
Yeah, so as we hop in from that first defensive round, hello, you see our faces. You've probably seen them a lot because we had some little issues in the first round. It's all first day jitters. The tech is having problem. I think servers were having problem earlier because Rainbow Six Siege is a flawless game. We're getting everything out on the first day, and I would hope that with Red Right Hand winning that round, we would end that first couple EBGBs with an actual good game. But now they have to go up to the dorms site. And Illness Esports, they found a way to get entries early on, and I'm afraid that when we go into dorms, Illness are really going to surround this team and truly ensnare them.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that's on the cards. I have to say I was surprised by Red Right Hand for a team that was so willing to play on multiple sort of entry points on their basement attack. They sort of had that inability to do it on the top floor. And I think Illness are a team that should be able to do exactly that, right? You get maybe a little bit of presence around attic, you get the main breach open, maybe someone lurking up white stairs or big window, just to sort of, again, just be that noise, be that little bit of an annoyance in the side or in your back line that you have to have someone focused on. Because, again, if you're defending the top floor, right, and you're focused solely on trophy, you lose the back access by big window, someone just jumps in and grabs a double kill, well, that's going to send your whole comms into chaos, because you're suddenly screaming, there's one behind us, he's killing us! And then you're just dead from the front, because they just charge it at the same time. And no, I think that's the sort of way you want to see these big, these main attacks go onto dorms, and we didn't see it from Red. I don't think Illness are going to run it.
Yeah.
I think they should be able to play in a slightly different way. And we're seeing with that with the pick they're making, right? Flores to come in and clear out utility, Thinker to give each other that. If they're playing by themselves, they can grab themselves back up again.
Yeah. That was my thought, is how are Illness going to send this? Are they going to play just mainly in Trophy, or are they going to just go all around? But we are going to go to a quick break. We'll have to find the answer to my question when we get back. back in the action on Oregon. Illness Esports up 4-3 on Red Right Hand after they went down 2-1-4 in a row. And now Red Right Hand just counters right back with a little slap of their own on the basement defense. They head up to kids' dorms looking to tie up the game.
Yeah, and you know what? The lineup coming out from both teams, pretty standard, right? Alibi, I feel like we've been seeing a little bit less Alibi since the removal of that 1.5. No longer the sort of speed demon that it was. I think like Azami coming into that sort of into that role a little bit as well, right? Where it's like good gun, pretty flexible operator. You can kind of bring it whenever. You get the Keybers, which are kind of like shields, but a bit more flexible, but a bit worse in some aspects. I mean, I agree with you, but I think shields have their purpose, right? Like sometimes you do want that shield over a Keyber for certain positions, just because it's like they're mini mirror windows. You can see through them. But the Keybers are it's such a scary good gadget. But something needs to happen to it. Make it like break after a certain amount of time or a certain amount of bullets. Like make it like Blackbeard shieldy, where it's like you can shoot it and it has like a health bar. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know. Maybe that would make it too bad though. Just like spam shots into it rather than having to blow it up. I don't know. But something would be nice.
Yeah. It would give potential player choice, which is what we want to see sometimes. In Rio is making a decision of his own, heading through a meeting, not wasting any time, and there's nobody from Red Right Hand that is aware of this. Well, Sen and Schmink are worried in that dining and shower side, and if they are not careful, they could get caught between a lot of Illness players and a big, brawny Canadian man, and Schmink is now going to create a rotate.
Oh,
does Inrio know? It does, and Schmink gets taken down, and that will be indicated to Sen.
I was really afraid that the drone might have been up, but looking to try and take a second one so quickly afterwards, Sen losing half the HP bar and immediately being finished off as well. A drone coming in to give Inrio some more information, some more support, because the meeting hatch does get opened up from its out of sight above, so a little bit something to be wary of. I was going to say this, the buck, you see a buck, you instantly think they're going to go below. In my mind, at least, I think it indicates that you're going to try and dislodge some of these defenders from the key positions upstairs. You also got on this Nook, who's lurking around the front side of things. So the take, screaming towards the back side, that's where the focus is. You're looking at big window, you're looking at white. Some potential Attic shenanigans to come through as well, if that's another spot you want to try and dislodge. With all the blue silhouettes being on that position, you got this Nook on the back side to play this sort of lurk, right? That's the backstab that we've talked about being quite strong for teams if they can pull it off effectively, whilst they're just still using these grenades below V, just trying to make life a nightmare for the angle.
Oh, ZZ trying to angle up that grenade, gets caught. And Owen now tries to even up the score just a little bit. And now there's those Keybas that we talked about. I don't know if it destroyed the Keyba, had it deployed in time, but it does take a lot of health off of Owen. And I don't know, is there a need of a backstab if Illness can just get the swift, straight cut right into Red Right Hand's defense? Owen tries to push forward, but gets caught in a bullet to the head, and now just BZ inside of this kid's dorms. Does watch the window, but there's a lot of other Illness members coming from a lot of different covered places, and Wimpy finish out the round, as right now Illness regains their lead.
Yeah, and again, just a really solid take from Illness. That is how you want to do this backsided take, right? You want to go for big window. You want to have the pressure below with grenades. They're bringing Sledge and Yana, that's 4. They've also got the Nook, but like Nook's like doing her own thing, you know, like she's chilling. You got the buck coming in below. The moment these nades are expended, right? They use them up. They get a bit of health off of Owen. They get a kill elsewhere, right? That's when everyone's on their feet. They need to find a new spot to play that hasn't been blown up already. Then you just start ripping away the floor beneath them. It forces them into these positions. They're like, well, I guess I have to find something else. I have to try and make a pick to make that space for myself. The cover from Aero. I mean, it was a nice try for Owen to get a bit aggressive on big window, look for that kill. I'm thinking, oh, that could be spicy if it worked out, but it doesn't. So it's not very spicy. A bit mild. And instead, Illness is getting another bit of positioning. They move into that 4 versus 1, and then they just start collapsing in and just trying to pin in Breezy. And I mean, they win the round, right? A very clean attack. They understood what they wanted to do, and they just worked very well together as a team. The coordination was really nice to see.
5 seconds left before insertion.
It's something that we expect of Illness. That they would have this coordination with each other when you have players in CL Whippy was in CL as well, was a Pro League player for a little bit of a time, but he was on Parabellum, and now Illness. Challenger League is no longer a thing, but maybe when we finish stage 1, there will be something to replace it, and maybe we'll see Illness Esports find their way in there. I know nothing. I am literally just speculating. There's maybe a little bit of hopium in there, but
He also had a pretty good showing in the phase 2 of the Blast Open qualifier. He came in the 5th, 6th position, so not a terrible showing, right? You're looking at those teams then moving forward into the next stage. So not at the top, but still pretty damn high when you consider how many teams enter into those qualifiers. Another good showing from them there. So, more of an indication of pretty solid things to come. They're looking to try and catch out then early. These keepers doing a great job of just diminishing some of these longer lines of sight that you might try to hold, but they're going for the swing, and CZ just maybe seeing the feet of the Jaeger, maybe just having that intuition, but he's gun ready, wins out the opening engagement once again. And Red Right Hand was starting to lose a little bit this edge they had on the roam and on these entries.
and they only lose 1 compared to the 2 that they did in the previous round. Schmink is spotted out on the rotate to security and now backs off into kitchen. I think Schmink knows that his life is really forfeit if he moves from this position to anywhere else, so it's about wasting time. What can he do on the kitchen side, on the security side, when he's being covered from every single angle? Illness has his number on every single site, but now Schmink has a shot on the Giddy, but can't hit it. That would have been such a round changer, but Giddy stays alive, and so does Illness's chance, especially with that kill onto Owen.
That's big as well, because you had Owen starting to aggress down white. The nade coming through to all but seal things as Imrio walks in, will be a bait, but Gitty walking up behind him is finished off by BZ so quickly as well. Still a 2 versus 1 for the Almighty to overcome, but with the breach opened up, they can try and loop around it, maybe try and catch them off guard. Nook look to try and engage, a tight angle being held, but the diffuser's going down at the same time, so this is the opportunity to aggress, to try and reduce the advantage, but it's not enough. Wimpy able to come out on top. He's not losing that gunfight, making sure the Illness hold onto that round comfortably. And now, well, creeping up a little bit, you get to that round 10, you get to that match point. Things looking a little bit less comfortable for Red Right Hand now, as they will need to put 3 defensive rounds back to back if they, want to have a chance of winning this game.
And heading down to basement isn't a confidence booster, because the last time they went there, it was a 1v1. And it was a 1v1 that, you toss a coin, maybe do a couple of things differently in that 1v1, and you lose it. Yeah. It wasn't one based off of Red Right Hand having the superior strategy, superior positioning. There's a little bit of luck thrown in there, but they did get the win in the end. We're able to add another round, but now they have to get 3. They have to win the basement, have to win dorms, and then have to win either meeting kitchen or kitchen dining, all of which at this point seems a little improbable. It's not impossible by any means, but Red Right Hand on the defense, they haven't shown that precision that they did on that early attack. And even since that early attack, it's kind of fell off, and I think that's because Illness has really started to match them.
Yeah, they've come alive after those 2 rounds where they were a little bit slower to catch on, or maybe, honestly, it could even just be caught off guard by Red Right Hand. Right, coming into the game, not really expecting too much, maybe not putting enough respect in, and now they're like, okay, boys, let's sharpen up, we come in cleaner, we start planning these rounds out a little bit tidier, and they really start to fall underway. Wimpy grabbing that Amaru, and as Amarus do, doing those classic Amaru things, eating straight on up into T3. The rotation hole is there for Schmink to fall back to, but, well, with the Amaru in position, not exactly going to be a safe rotation.
Sen poised inside of security, trying to watch down that shower corridor. The drone does spot him. Actually spots 2 players, one on the white stairs and one on security. They have each other's back, as it seems like Red Right Hand really do want to cement themselves in this position, but there's going to be 1 less player now, 2 who are uprooted from their staying position, and things are looking not very good for this team. Ben, Owen, BZ, and Schmink have to hold down the fort. Schmink gets 1 nice kill, but can't get more than that, meaning that Illness keeps their 2-man count lead. And things are looking more dire and dire by the second. There's so much time for Illness to work with. Owen is spotted by the drone far, far off site. Is this the burden that Owen is going to have to carry? Staying off site, BZ holding it down with the shotgun, using that Goyo to give himself a little bit of time, but the Illness is starting to close in.
Yeah, you really need Plasma Pink with the W7M skin. Looks a lot nicer than the 2022 Invitational skin, but I won't fight him too much for that. It's a rare find. On low health though, and I think that's the more pressing issue for him right now. You want to be very careful with players potentially walking down laundry. Owen is going to drop back into the basement to give that cover fire support, be able to back up his teammate. He does have those yokais manned by their team if they're still up. It looks like Sen is on one of them. Don't know if the second one has been shot out by this point, but sneak drone dropped in the back could be quite a big deal, as they do have the information of the echo, in the corridor. Might also be able to see the smoke. And there's potential little bit of a shenanigans to come in from the Amara if they're able to sneak down successfully.
Yeah, things could change, especially because Illness hasn't done much in the past 30 seconds. D-Box hatch going to be open, but Owen is watching it like a hawk. The flashbangs really aren't going to do much, but Arrow stays alive. Owen can't get much more than that, and that might be it, and it will. And the hope of the match went away with the missed shots of Owen. So Illness Esports get a lackluster start, but finish it, I think, the way we were expecting. 7-3 at that. A little finish for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a result you're expecting coming in. A good start from Red Right Hand. And if we had seen them sort of carry through that form or that poise that they had in the opening 2 rounds into some of their other attacks, the game could have been a lot more interesting. I think they ultimately just didn't quite have the pieces sort of fit together. And I think Illness did a really good job of just starting to respond to what was coming out from Red Right Hand, right? They were starting to play a little bit more aggressively. They were looking for these gunfights and just trying to start things off on an upper foot, and that was definitely the case when we saw them swap onto their attack, right? They were very good about getting in early, getting into positions where you're challenging Red Right Hand, and they're coming out on top of these gunfights, they're grabbing these advantages and carrying them through, and very good at making very few mistakes, and then making up for any that they do, with just great teamwork and great firepower to just start walking on through their opponents. And I don't know, what can you say? Very solid performance from Illness.
I think Illness Esports, when they started to elevate themselves, that's when you start to see Red Right Hand's mistakes start to become glaring issue. And this is a main reason why they're struggling in this round. And Illness Esports, I think, when we saw everything laid out on the table, the fact that they walked away with it does seem pretty obvious, but it is nice to see Red Right Hand. They got something early on. Like, we saw a little bit of a spark from them. It was snuffed out pretty quickly, but there's still, I think, 4 rounds left where at this point, Red Right Hand can, go from this point, and I hope that we see more of them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can sort of bring in future weeks, especially if we get onto some of these maps that can lean into a little bit more strategy play. I'm hoping that we get to see them bring out their team a little bit into the season. That would always be nice. It might take us to the best of 3s for teams to not ban it away, but if we do, it'll be a treat. Maybe some other fun ones, but no, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer before we ever see them grace our screens again, just because we've got a few games to get through in the next 2 days.
Yes, we do have Inrio for an interview, and I know that you are trying to get into that, so I will let you take it away with your Inrio interview, Ben.
Good evening, Imrio. Congrats on the win.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not even in the call to hear you guys, so I don't know what you said to me.
There we go. Oh, is the sound coming through now? Okay. Are we good? We good, Imrio?
Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, mate. All right, wonderful. A couple little kinks at the start. Always, it has to go that way. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Were you coming in the first game of the season, right? Obviously wanting to start off on the win. You get that 1-0 in the Swiss. You start to move forward on. Red Right Hand, a team you know anything about, or is it just coming in just like any other game? Kind of play it out.
I mean, all I know about the other team is that I know they play rank a lot. Other than that, it's just like came in like any other game day and just did our thing, and obviously doing our thing won us the game.
Nice. Oregon, the map you just wanted to play a kind of fairly
We
straightforward
just
one.
try
You
to
get in.
I mean, to be real, we just try to keep it like simple, a basic map. You know, basic map. It's easy to play against people that don't know how to do much things really, so they're not creative. Easy to just like read people.
Yeah, they came in on the first 2 rounds with a pretty similar sort of take onto the basement twice, with just all 5 members dropping at the same time and pushing in. It looked like it maybe caught you guys off guard at the start, but you were very quick to adapt, sort of not allow them to set these positions up. Is that a conscious decision being made to try and catch them up early on in rounds?
Honestly, we weren't ready for their fast aggression at first. That's why they got us the first 2 rounds off. But once we realized how they were playing, we just adapted to like, you know, be ready, have your gun up, like they're just walking at us. Like, just put your gun up and shoot them.
And then you moved on to that attack, and it basically looked the same, right? You're just walking in, finding good entry kills. The droning seemed to be coming through really well. You guys mesh really well as a squad of 5.
Yeah, no, we like recently, like what we've been doing, like it's been feeling pretty good compared to when we first like had when we first made our 5, but it's been getting better over time. We feel like really like confident in ourselves and like comfortable with each other and calls and everything.
That's always going to help when you come to a map like Oregon, which sort of relies on that communication, that fluidity with members, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, wonderful. And so you get the first win, you get to go into next week looking for that 2-0 start, as anyone would be. Is there any sort of thoughts going forwards now for who your next matchup's going to be, or is it just keeping cool, keeping calm, and just going forwards onwards?
Yeah, no, to keep it cool and keep calm. We don't really care who we play, and we feel like we're confident in ourselves. It doesn't matter who we play, we're going to win, so it doesn't really matter. We don't care who the opponent is.
Good fight and talk to come out early on. Well, congratulations on your win, and have a nice little day off in between before you need it back to win another game.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. Have a nice day too. Thank you very much.
You mate.
All right, stats after the interview, and we can kind of see the numbers to back up what Inrio is saying. They got prepared early on. Everybody except CZ, who's still at a 0.94, got above that 1.0 rating, and CZ even went 4-1 on the entry. So everybody on Illness really putting up a show. And unfortunately, Red Hand, when things happen the way they do, you get stopped early on, your stats might not be as crazy.
Yeah, I mean, trying to get lots of positive stats on games like this, where you're going down 7-3, it's a lot of round losses, a lot of deaths. Always going to be a little bit harder. And I think, we can see some good jobs. They're getting some entry picks in some of these rounds. It was just a case of consolidating. I think Illness just very good at sort of responding and being there to back each other up. And you can see it reflected in the stat lines, right? Lots of shared entries. CZ always getting in there, always having information ahead of him, just to make sure he's able to grab picks, grab advantages, and they're very good at staying on top of them.
I think I'm pointing out Sen's 2-4, and that might seem like, oh, you did bad. No, Sen went 2-0 to start off the map. Clearly, there was something there, but Illness Esports, we all know, something changed, and the Sen played the same, Illness didn't, and they really started to lean into that aggressive play. They were able to counter that, so I think that is why Sen just had an unfortunate match, was because they got countered very early on, and it was so fast, there was no way to really change what you were doing. I think that was the problem with Red Right Hand, is they really couldn't do much else in the entire map aside from what Inrio was saying. Play fast, play aggressive, catch your opponent off guard, and they just couldn't do that.
Yeah, and I think that just really started to show as the rounds went on. We just saw more opportunities for Red Right Hand to get some early advantage and just kind of not quite be able to push kills over the line, right? There's a couple of times you're thinking, just a little bit more damage, you get that kill instead. You're still in your position on the roam or in sight. Consistently kind of just slipped away from them. And I think Illness just continually grabbing those advantages when they came was just what brought them the win in the end.
All right, well, map 1 is done. We have seen the first result of SFCL Season 6. We're going to go to a quick break, and we will be right back with the next match just for you.